Morning, everybody. Ready to kick off the day. Harvest corn. Need to spray off some mirrors here and some windows because we can't see through them anymore. One of the windows that gets overlooked is just cleaning the inside of your windows. It's amazing how that dust comes in the cab, even though we keep a clean cab, and it still sticks to the windows. On this 700 series, when you start it up, you've got to release parking brake, unlock all these other controls. The 600, I believe you just did the parking brake. That kind of drives me nuts on this machine. Another thing I don't like is this platform out here. It's very hard to get out here this window. As far as I'm concerned, cleaning your windows is part of your daily service, or maybe every couple days. But you can't get on that railing worth of crap. International has a unlockable window, which was useless. And I like the way John Deere did all this better as far as ergonomics of the International. It's just that the window area here is just not as user-friendly. And we have about enough fuel to run till noon, and we'll be able to get this field done here, which there's about 55 acres in this field, and probably 25 of it left to go. We'll finish that up here. Improvement to the S700 series was right here. The twist chair and the new consoles. This is the newer style console with the integrated display here at the end of the armrest. We went ahead and opted for the corner post display here. Beautiful setup. I like this so much better than the 600 series. Ergonomically flows. It's just more functional. The seat's wider and doesn't pinch you. It still has the same steering column. And the steering column, in my opinion, they have improved these for the X9 cab, which is the same cab shell. It's just a new interior. But this comes up higher and bends more out this way at you. I don't like how the steering wheel is more flat. I mean, it seems to me like any car or anything would be more this way instead of leaning back this way. And this is on max tilt. So to get it to lean back at you, just shove it in your lap. Well, I'm already back against the back of the cab. Now that things are warmed up, we'll engage our separator and then our header. We like to let things warm up in the morning before we do that. And we only have a 3-position throttle. That's always been a quirk on the John Deere's. The old 9500s are actually 2-position, either idle or run. But International has a throttle lever that's much superior. Pull up here and take a dump. The John Deere combine does unload substantially faster than the International. The International, in my opinion, lacked auger size, or possibly it was in design. My other complaint of the International was the amount of wear life that you will get out of that combine versus the John Deere. There are some things about it that are better, but at the same time, it's nice to have a combine that lasts over 1,000 hours. If you want to know my thoughts on some other brands of machines, you can check my second channel for some behind-the-scenes footage as well as additional information. And no, nobody's came forward to give me a free set of Estes concaves yet. They tell me they're great. I'm sure they are, but $10,000. Anybody want to buy me a set? If they show up in the mail, I'll put them in. That's a Brent 1196 grain cart. If we had, they do a 98 series out now. It's available. Farm Progress shows here the difference between it and the 98s. The 98s have the integrated screen here, and you can get an auger out the right side. Otherwise, pretty much the same. If I had a hired hand that was good at running a grain cart, I would probably only run like a 576 or maybe a V700 would be about as big. I would go with a smaller cart because they get long and big as they get bigger. So I would get a smaller cart, and then I would just have them chase me around, and it'd work out probably better just because you can turn around quicker and easier, but I don't really have much for help. And no, I'm not really looking for any. And now to run the grain cart up there to the main farm. It's a one-man band here this morning. We're getting it done. And now we're moving to a different farm. We got the other one done by our deadline of noon, but noon disappears very quick when you have to get moved, fueled, windows wiped down again, just check the oils, do all that while the fuel nozzle's in, and then a decent distance move, and that just kills a lot of time. So here it is mid-afternoon, and we are heading there with the last piece of equipment. And once moved, back to more of the same. The monotony starts to set in. This is the time of year where we get to reap the rewards of our fruits and efforts, but no farmer ever wants to take crop insurance. But it is a necessary evil, just like automobile insurance. Nobody ever wants to wreck their car and collect the insurance check. At the same time, you definitely wouldn't want to be without it. And if harvest includes needing to collect insurance because there just wasn't any rain, it's just not a very rewarding or heart-filled year. In our area, a lot of guys are wrapping up harvest. We will be doing that around the 10th of the month, I believe, but they are calling for some rain between now and then. I'm just cruising along about 20 miles an hour. This county road absolutely could not get any worse. We had a county engineer who did a bit of an algorithm, said that anybody on a oil chip or a surfaced road that was no longer needing to stay surfaced, those would be returning to gravel, the road by our farm included. Paved since 1947, it was returned to gravel in 2000, I think it was 2010. And the engineer said nobody will have to drive over 3 miles to get to a paved road, which in other words, he just kept the main roads. And he was right, but what they didn't really account for was the fact that most of the traffic would now funnel that way and overload the county roads. And just due to budgets and other things, they're not getting the maintenance they should, and they're very, very rough. And this would be one of those roads. 10 mile an hour in a combine, and that's not a joke, 10 miles per hour. It literally bucks the machine violently, and we're bucking right now at 18 to 19 mile an hour. It's pretty ridiculous. We have fields and their roads are much smoother than this. I've now had to decrease speed down to 14 to 17 mile an hour range, including getting over for some cars, and they have not gravelled the shoulder here. There's drop-offs here of probably 8 inches or more, including some potholes that are probably over 2 feet deep. If you had a semi get in there, I think you'd probably wreck the truck. I understand the challenges, but the county could do a lot better. Again, I'm going 16 mile an hour, and the cart's back there bucking like a Bronco. Check out that sunset. Picture perfect. Which is why I took a picture. And now to get gasoline. Normally run 87, but we're going to try 88 in it, which seemed to have pretty good results. The morning traffic. Stuck behind this old bag. It's a bagger. Waiting on a bunch of door nummies to get down the road here. Seems like everybody's out ready to hit the day. Most of the guys in the area are done, and the local elevator has no ground to pile, so that tells you something. We did have a 4408 Case IH corn head when we had our international combine, The early 4408s and the later ones, there was revisions made to them. Luckily, ours had most of the row unit revisions. Then the revisions it didn't have, we actually added to it, which was a bigger corkscrew on the intake to the knives. And you guys can go back in the video series and watch the videos where I talk about that header. Just look for anything in the caption that said 4408 if you're interested. The 4408 had a superior backbone and a superior poly, in my opinion, compared to the John Deere. The poly life was less, but the snouts were just a hint shorter. I liked it a little bit better, as well as the header height sensors I felt were better. But where the case failed heavily in comparison with this John Deere was the row units and the auger. The auger was absolutely tiny, and the row units they didn't have it. They did not have the gathering chain engagement. They did not have the knives or a pour system. It's based off like an old 1083 head. Last I knew case was working on a 5000 series header, but I don't think they've ever unveiled it. They, in my opinion, need to. John Deere here with the integrated stock stompers, the much bigger auger, and now that they're caught up with the end augers, snouts, it is a better head, and I can overlook a couple little tiny things on the sheer basis that the Case IH just had so many problems, like I just said, with the units in auger feed. Poly's one thing, but how it's actually going to engage and pull the crop in is another. We do have some Drago dealers in the area. I will not buy one. I've had mixed reports on them, including, in my opinion, the knife's so slow turning, which is their idea, that it doesn't shell corn, and it basically strings the stalks like a 1942 picker sheller. And then like a Garanhoff head, I do not think those are really designed for our area. Those were based in Europe, which has a much wetter, their conditions are just much wetter. They harvest a lot greener, higher moisture corn than we do right in this area of Iowa anyway. Now other areas of Iowa, as you get north, I think the crop does get wetter because they just don't have as much daylight hours or as long a season to do natural dry down. And we're going into some thinner corn here on this farm right now, and these upper terraces are never as good as the lower end, but this farm will average a little bit, it'll probably be average yields. The farms to the west of here, we had hail on some of those and a little bit less rain, and as we keep going west, the hail picked up and we were even muddier when we planted, so I'm sure the yields will just be worse and worse as we go back towards the west. There are so many pros and cons to combines that are available in the market, and literally everybody has a different design, but the basic ideas are the same as the thresh and separate grain used for harvesting. But there's so many different designs out there that have been created over the years. There's brands that we won't touch, such as a Gleaner, the Massey Ferguson, which, by the way, the Massey's been eliminated, they're gone. We won't touch a Gleaner. It's 110 miles to one dealer only, and that's one-way directions. That's just not really an option. And any brand of brakes, the John Deere brakes, the Case IH brakes, in this area it's probably Case, New Holland, and John Deere have the top slots. Probably John Deere's number one. And each of those brands has a pro and a con to it. Things about the Case we like better, there's things about this John Deere we like better. And those are all little things I put in the video leading up, and I'd really like to continue a series of what I kind of started with last year, was building the better combine, and my idea is what could be thought to build a better combine, and that'll be talked about in some upcoming videos. And as you noted in this video, I've mentioned several little things I do and don't like on this one, which just little tiny things, even as switch placement, can be a big change to ergonomics, or you spend 12 hours a day out here, something very simple can be something very big. Someone asked me about a Claas combine. I have looked at them at dealers. There's a few things on them that look like they're incredibly heavily built. There's other things on them that look like they're junk. I don't see any miracles with the machine, and I'm not going to probably buy one, because again, we have a major dealer shortfall around here, and you just don't see many S780s sitting on Claas lots, at least not local. There's a reason for that. I've actually seen a few cats or the Claases on some John Deere lots, meaning guys got rid of them, but not the other way around. Have I tried the MacDon head, corn head, or anything like that? No, I'm not going to either. Capello, there's several different brands. GTS. And back to the cart again. This farm is a big loop, and no matter where you put that cart, it seems like you're this end, or if you put it in the middle, you get to their end. It just, nothing works. You need the grain cart following you, a couple semis running. If I had the help, which it is a question of maybe should, but at the same time, I know that getting somebody that's probably going to be somebody that would work for me is going to be $60,000 a year and up, and I don't want to spend that out of the farm's budget. It may be coming in time, though. You never know. I don't want to spend that kind of money now. But if I did have the cart running, I would get a V700, which is the smallest of the V series, and then just take 2 dumps and fill the truck. Now, the reason I would is because this cart is long. Any of these bigger carts, they're 1,000 bushels, they're big, and you cut through on 8 rows. It's a task in these terraces to get turned around with a grain cart and head back out, whereas a smaller cart's much more tight turning and nimble. Where we're just running the one truck, and then the cart just is full up for a truck to get here. That's why we do what we do, and why we have the cart we do. And lunchtime. Now back to the combine. I've been doing a complete review on this, as well as things I feel should be done or changed, how to make the ultimate combine. We'll explore my creativity of mechanical engineering in an upcoming video. Thanks for watching, guys, and better content ahead.